Hello, my lovelies. It is time for another round of Yeet or Keep, so stay tuned. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Yeet or Keep is something new I've started. This is only the second episode. I'll link the first episode up above if you want to go and check it out. But I started this so that I could more quickly go through some of my TBR and determine what things I'm really interested in and what I can just get rid of. So this is essentially like a try a chapter type deal. So today I grabbed 5 books off of my These Books Will Self-Destruct shelf, and we're going to do like the first chapter, maybe a chapter or 2 depending on how long the chapters are, and see if these things are Yeet or Keep. So the first thing I have here is Absolute Brightness by James Lecesny. I don't know if I'm saying that right. As I go through, I'll tell you about each of these books, but right now I'll just tell you what they are. We have Pivot Point by Casey West, As Simple as Snow by Gregory Galloway, Other Side Tales, The Smoke Riders by S.W. Heaton III, and Twillin's Redeemer, Nature's Lady by Rebecca Amon. So this one and this one are parts of a series. They're the first books in a series. And I think there's 3 books of this. And I have the first 4, I think, books of this one. These are books that I purchased while at the Decatur Book Festival a long time ago. So if I'm not into them, then I can actually get rid of the whole series, and that'll help knock some off. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with Absolute Brightness. This says, Phoebe's life in Neptune, New Jersey is somewhat unremarkable. She helps her mom out with her hair salon, she goes to school, and she envies her perfect older sister. But everything changes when Leonard arrives. Leonard is an orphan, a cousin who Phoebe never knew she had. When he comes to live with Phoebe's family, he upsets the delicate balance of their lives. He's gay and confident about who he is. He inspires the people around him. He sees people not as they are, but as they hope to be. One day, Leonard goes missing. Phoebe, her family, and her community fight to understand what happened and to make sense of why someone might want to extinguish the beautiful absolute brightness that was Leonard Pelkey. Ooh, this seems like it's going to be a hard book. It says, this novel by the co-founder of the Trevor Project inspired the critically acclaimed off-Broadway show The Absolute Brightness of Leonard Pelkey. Okay. All right, so let's see. The first chapter is how long? 15 pages. So it seems like, I don't know, I might read the first 2 chapters. We'll see. But I'll come back and share my thoughts. Okay, so I read the first 2 chapters. The first one was pretty much what the synopsis said, well, minus the him going missing part. They found out that Leonard is going to come and stay with them, and why, and what arrangements they would have to make in order for him to have a space there. And, okay, our main character, Phoebe, to me, is not likable at all. So I bookmarked this one spot where she was talking about, like, when he first got there. She says, Leonard was wearing capri pants, pink and lime green plaid, and a too small t-shirt which exposed his midriff. He wore a pair of shoes that were more like sandals set atop a pair of 2-inch wooden platforms. Both ears were pierced, though only one chip of pale blue glinted from his left lobe. He carried what looked like a flight attendant's overnight flight bag from the 1960s. The strap was hitched over his shoulder, ladies style. Chow, he said to me as he smiled and held out his hand. I took hold of his delicate fingers and gave them a quick shake, while internally rolling my eyes. He was way too different. Don't get me wrong, I like different. I am different. But when different goes too far, it stops being a statement and just becomes weird. I made my mind right then and there that he and I would not be getting that close. And she talks about him like being a freak from like Mars or something. And yeah, she's definitely not very likable. And in chapter 2, he has essentially become like the go-to guy for makeovers and stuff. So their mom has her own salon there at home. Like they redid a garage and she has her own salon. So he has started working in the salon. He's kind of like the front man, taking phone calls, all of that stuff, sweeping up hair, and he makes suggestions to the women, including Phoebe and Deidre's mom, and they end up giving themselves makeovers and all of this stuff. And Phoebe is very irritated by all of it and just wants him to go. And it says, this is at the end of chapter 2, the mere thought of living with Leonard for the rest of my life, or even another year, was more than I could stand. So for the next several months, I devoted myself to the task of exposing Leonard's character defects and revealing his true manipulative nature to my mother. Once he had done something inexcusable, Mom would certainly make other arrangements and send him packing. Of course, I had to be crafty. I was so busy devising a plan, I never considered the possibility that Leonard might do it himself. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't even have to lift a finger. It was almost too easy. See, like, she is not likable at all. I am, however, invested in this, especially after reading the thing about it being off-Broadway show. I'm curious. I do very much like Leonard, though. He's just this happy, positive ball of energy, and he is just so himself. So this one is going to be a keep. All right, next up, we're going to go to Pivot Point by Casey West. This one says, knowing the outcome doesn't always make a choice easier. Addison Coleman's life is one big what if. As a searcher, whenever Addie is faced with a choice, she can look into the future and see both outcomes. It's the ultimate insurance plan against disaster, or so she thought. When Addie's parents ambush her with the news of their divorce, she has to pick who she wants to live with. Addie loves her life just as it is, so her answer should be easy. One search 6 weeks into the future proves it's not. With love and loss in both lives, it all comes down to which reality she's willing to live through, and who she can't live without. Interesting. That would be a handy skill to have, honestly. Alright, so, let's see. The first chapter is how long? Okay, I definitely think I'm going to have to read the first 2 chapters, at least, because chapter 2 ends on page 19. So, just this much. So, I'm going to go and do that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I ended up reading a little more than the first 2 chapters of Pivot Point. I actually read the first 4 chapters, which only took me to page 35. This one is going to be a yeet. Because, so the first chapter, I really wasn't feeling it at all. I don't know if it was a writing style or what, but she was in school, and they live in this compound, and everybody has like some kind of special ability. Her parents probably have the worst abilities that teen parents could have, for a teenager anyway. Great for the parents. The mom is a persuader, meaning she can pretty much make anybody do whatever she wants. And her dad is pretty much a human lie detector, so she could never lie. And it's just them like in a day of school, and it was like all these people with different abilities and stuff. And then she gets home from school, and her parents are sitting there, and they're like super somber, and they're like, we're getting a divorce, and you get to decide which one you want to go with. And it's not just that they're getting a divorce, but her dad is leaving this compound, and he's going to go into the normal world. I was more interested by the second chapter, and I was kind of curious to see where it would go and how I would feel about it. So chapter 3 is, so in chapter 2, she's like deciding, okay, she's going to have to do this. Hold on one second. My dog is whining. Okay, I'm back. I don't know why she was whining. She was like halfway up the stairs and just kind of stopped and was like, what? Anyway, so in chapter 2, she decides she needs to search and to make her decision. And that's her ability. She can see into the future and see the 2 different outcomes. And she's going to look 6 weeks out. So in chapter 3, it's the first week, I guess, that she, in if she chose the path of going and staying with her mom. And chapter 4 was if she chose to go with her dad. And I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. It's a little too, I don't know, the whole being, the normals and the specials, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way it's written or what, but this one's going to be a yeet. So next up we have As Simple as Snow by Gregory Galloway. I have no idea what this is about. She left behind little more than suggestions, hints, and suspicions, but there were enough of them to make you go crazy trying to figure out what it all meant. Anna, who preferred to be called Anastasia, is dark, spooky, and mysterious, and from the moment he met her, he was mesmerized, and so began their happy yet unlikely romance. But a week before Valentine's Day, Anna disappears, leaving behind a dress on the frozen river and a string of unanswered questions. As the narrator struggles to understand what happened and put together the pieces of the last few months, the clues, codes, and ciphers begin to coalesce into a haunting reality that may implicate friends, relatives, and even Anna herself. Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to read, let's see what the first chapter, how long that one is. Ooh, the writing is significantly smaller. I don't know if you can see. I'm also going to have to get me some food. Okay, so there's not chapter numbers. It looks like the first chapter or whatever is called Goodbye to Everyone. And that's only 3 pages. And then the next says Spooky Girlfriend. And that only goes to page 13. And then the next one's I Don't Want to Bore You, but that also only goes to page 16. So, I don't know. I'll read a little bit and I'll come back and check in with you. Okay, so I read the first 2 chapters and then the start of the next one. And I'm kind of bored. I mean, it has like an interesting synopsis, but the first chapter is him talking about Anna and like later on, not when he first meets her. And he's talking about how she writes obituaries for people. Like the very first sentence says, Anna Kane had moved here in August just before our sophomore year in high school, but by February she had one by one killed everyone in town. So she was writing obituaries for everybody in town. And then it skips to, or it goes to in chapter 2 where she, like her and her family moved to this town and she's this gothy girl, and the next chapter is just talking about how he's very bland. And I'm not all that interested. So this one is a yeet. Okay, so this is probably the one that I have the most hope for. Because I do remember the author saying something about Wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland meets something else. I can't remember. So that is Other Side Tales, The Smoke Riders. This is book 1 of the Other Side Tales saga. Addie is a chatterbox who can't stay out of trouble. Her mom works late and her dad has been missing for years. When a pack of boys from her class corners her in an alley, words won't save her. A wicked drop into a dumpster turns into Addie's biggest disappearing act as she careens, shoeless and alone, into a world of myth and violence called Other Side. Within mere moments, a vicious mogger picks up her scent and will stop at nothing to catch its prey. While Addie is on the run, she hears rumors about an evil group from the north raiding villages and whispering in the dark. They call themselves the Smoke Riders. Addie and the new friends she gains on her journey must find a way to shake the relentless mogger and warn the old king about the Smoke Riders before the South is lost forever. Maybe Addie thinks she can find her father in this beautifully broken world, but Other Side has a funny way of granting wishes. Fall into a brand new myth. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm hoping that I enjoy it. I actually got it signed and personalized too when I met him. So we're gonna see if this is a yeet or a keep. Also, sorry if I keep looking down instead of like at the camera. This is a brand new camera, so I'm getting used to how the screen is because it's directly below. I'm trying to look at the camera. Okay, so I didn't even get through the first chapter. I finally stopped on page 7. This is not a book for me. Okay, so I thought this was like going to be YA maybe or something, or like more written for adults, but this is more like a children's book. I mean, it's not picture book or anything like that, but it's written very much, in my opinion, like a child's book. And the main character is, I'm pretty sure, like elementary school. So I'm just not feeling it. So I'm gonna eat this one, which means I actually will be eating all 3 of this series, which is kind of disappointing. Okay, next up, and this is the last book, we have Twillin's Redeemer, Nature's Lady by Rebecca Amon. This says, "'Neath stem and petal the baby lies, earth and nature are her ties. She determines if good lives or dies, after her sacrifice evil flies. At birth she was abandoned, at 16 she was found. As an elf she discovered her power, and as Kiam's chosen, she has to save her world. Found and raised by a kind farmer, Alarnoa, an elfin princess, grew up as Genevia, a peasant girl raised in a humble cabin on a small island. When Frelati, a mysterious elf, arrives on their farm, he reveals her unknown past, eliminates the present chaos in their world, and gives her an ultimatum. How was she to know that her parents had been captured by Fizam and imprisoned in the dungeons of Azul? Yet she was supposed to free them before Fizam took complete control over the land of Twillin and brought everything under his evil rule. That's what Frelati expects, and he intends to see it happen because he was sent by the king and queen to find her and will not let them down. Before they can reach Azul, however, they must make a treacherous journey from the Pixie Islands to the Dwarf Undergrounds, across the nomad desert of Suda, and through the forests of the Shapeshifters. Fizam's soldiers await them at every turn, but Genevia and Frelati also find friends on their path, friends that are ready to see Fizam's reign come to an end. But how can a small, undisciplined group outwit Fizam's forces and overthrow his reign? All hope rests on Alarnoa. She is Twillin's Redeemer, Nature's Lady. There's a lot of really weird names in this book. I feel like they just Googled like random fantasy names or something. Alright, let's see. Oh, I do have a bookmark here. And there's a map. Let me show you this map up close because they all have ridiculous names. Well, the prologue starts on page 9. And then chapter 1 actually starts on page 11. Which is weird. Alright, I'll be back when I get some of this read. Okay, so this one is a keep. So I read the prologue and the first chapter. And in the prologue, the elfin king and queen are running from these soldiers. And they know that they're about to be caught. And so they hide, what's her name? Alarnoa, the baby. They hide her in some bushes and stuff before they get captured. And that's what's going on in the prologue. And then in the first chapter, Alarnoa, now known as Genevia, I think is how it's pronounced. She's 16 years old, and she's been raised by her father, and she's asking him to tell the story of how he found her and all of that. And she wants to know about her past and where she came from and all of that, and he doesn't really know much, but he's pretty sure that she is an elf, and he's not. He's human. But most of the elves are gone now. And he keeps her very secluded, and she doesn't go to town with him to get supplies and things like that. So she doesn't interact with a lot of people. Most people would see her as just a beautiful girl, as long as they don't see her ears, because she has very pointed ears. And then she's out like in the woods, supposed to be picking flowers, and she's fantasizing about her past and things like that, when a very handsome stranger appears who happens to be an elf, and he is out there. It's Frelati, and he's out there looking for somebody. I'm pretty sure it's her that he's actually looking for. I enjoyed the writing. I'm enjoying the story, so this one is a keep. So in the end, I have 2 keeps, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Yeets, because these are books 2 and 3 in the other side tales. So I'm happy to knock these off of these books will self-destruct shelf and to make these a little more of a priority. Have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!